Hello. How's everybody doing tonight? How we feeling? I've got so much water sitting next to me because it's gonna be a lot of reading. Oh goodness. Ah, hello. How we doing? I do like to take a minute to try and greet people before we hop into this. Although I probably should keep it shorter. Uh, Doing pretty good. My day is going a-okay. Did the whole TikTok thing, and now here we are ready to move on and do some games. Oh my goodness, sweet ocean boy. Thank you for the hydration reminder, I appreciate it. So yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, we have been playing through Our Life Beginnings and Always. The star of the show is a Mr. Cove Holden, also known as Ocean Boy. We just got done hanging out with Baxter, and we are getting really close to the end of this, which is so sad. Let me hydrate real quick, and then we'll get into it, and then I'll probably cry. Yeah, because I am just like the mushy, sentimental little dude, little guy. Okay, beautiful, fantastic. Okie dokie. Who's ready? I'm not. Instead of the I'm ready SpongeBob, I'm not ready. Oh, I'll be done. But it's okay. We're just gonna keep going along for the ride with these lovely characters we've gotten a chance to know. I adore this game. This game has such a hold on my heart, it's not even fucking funny. But okay, time to get into it. And then summer ended. Move to the next step, are you sure? Yeah, we're going. Moths bounced against your window, attracted by the light of your room. A siren call in the slowly darkening day. Just as the day was coming to an end, so too would summer. Liz would be moving back into the dorms before long. Luckily, Lee had been able to come stay for a short trip before her own new journey began. She'd officially been accepted at her first choice college a few weeks ago. This was her last chance to see you all in person for... You flicked through the plans for the next few months, realizing that you didn't even know when you'd next have the opportunity for everyone to be in the same place again. It was hard to think that you'd likely be seeing even less of your cousin going forward, but you were delighted that she was pursuing her dreams. While you were still with each other, your family was going to have dinner together. As ever, the Holdens were tagging along too. Ooh, I get to choose where we go for dinner? I personally think I like the tropical place more. Like, the Chinese restaurant is cool, fine and good, but I'm going with your destination was that tropical place. You hadn't really discovered the tropical restaurant until you were a bit older, but everyone's enthusiasm had resulted in so many visits that you'd more than made up for lost time. Liz and Lee were excited to squeeze in another trip before setting off again. Technically, you were getting ready to go out, though your mind was only half on the task. It was a pleasantly warm evening, the kind that epitomized the vacation feeling, and you were in no mood to spoil it by rushing around. You checked your phone, starting with a quick glance to confirm the time, followed by a speedy scroll through the latest updates. But what snagged your attention was the little envelope icon telling you there was an email waiting. Your eyes widened as you studied the subject line. It was regarding the details of the trip you'd been planning. Ah, boy. We're gonna go travel, buddies. I'm sorry I don't play Minecraft. You know, I might have to do a Minecraft stream just to try and make it up to y'all. And you can watch just how little I know or get into Minecraft. For the record, I want everybody to know that that account is joking. It's not serious. We're not going to send any hate to this person. We're fine. I am on board. They get the Blake stamp of approval. They are okay. Okay. I'd say you took a deep breath and read it. This next step would take nerve. You closed your eyes as you breathed deep, the air slipping through your lips as you opened your eyes once more. You clicked to open the message and waited for it to load, forgetting to breathe in the process. Your eyes darted over the message, rushing past the pleasantries to get to the heart of the matter. The blood pounding in your ears deafened you to the world outside that was contained within these letters. Your heart skidded to a halt as you read your verdict. The arrangements had been confirmed. You were officially going to be able to start traveling. Aw, I love that. I'd say ecstatic. Definitely you were ecstatic. Probably also kind of relieved, but this one. Bouncing on the balls of your feet, you pressed your phone to your chest as your excitement bubbled over. I think you wanted to keep this news to yourself for now. You tried your best to finish getting yourself ready for the dinner ahead. It was a strain. Your mind had only half been on the task before. Now, with the news fresh in your mind, it was a struggle to concentrate on anything else. You kept having to recall your thoughts away from the future and back to the present. Time was against you. Mom soon called from downstairs that it was time to go. You had to check the time, sure that you had 10 or at least 5 minutes left. You were wrong. Oof, that's the whole, no concept of time thing. My bad. You tore down the stairs, attempting to juggle your composure among the hurry and excitement. Your moms, who turned to greet you as you arrived, swapped silent, knowing looks. They couldn't possibly have figured out what happened, or so you hoped. As your moms, they were pretty good at telling things without being told. You watched them, hunting for any further signs that they were on the case, but none came. For now, it didn't seem like they knew what was happening. Okay, Minecraft story? That maybe could be my thing. Okay. I felt the pressure. I felt the weight of the world. How about towards the end of September we'll maybe do a Minecraft stream? I'll look into it. I agree. I think traveling is good. I would love to travel. Not exactly, at least. But things were definitely happening. And even if they didn't know for sure what you were cooking up, they could smell something in the air. Everyone piled into the car. While it was marked as being suitable to hold 5 people, in practice it made for a very tight fit. Your moms sitting in the front were fine. You, Liz, and Lee were squished into the back, Lee in the middle, wedged between you and your sister. But Mom was an excellent timekeeper. Thanks to her efforts, you pulled up near the restaurant on time. The process of getting out of the car was slightly easier than squeezing into it, with much less coordination required to release seatbelts than to secure them. You gave Lee a hand as she clambered out of the middle seat, then headed into the building as a group. A waiter greeted you as you entered. Ma let him know how many of you there would be in total, and he went to arrange a table that met your needs. He returned promptly to guide you to your seats. You perched comfortably in your chair, your head held aloft as if buoyed by today's good fortune. Your family settled down around you, all cheerful and looking forward to the evening ahead. Your drinks order had just been taken when the Holdens came through the door. They were pointed in your direction, though with Mom waving an arm in the air, it was hardly necessary. Cove and Mr. Holden came to join you at the table. As greetings were being exchanged, Cove took a seat opposite to you. It had been left empty by unspoken acknowledgement that you and Cove would be wanting to sit together. I love that the families know. Mr. Holden sat beside him. It's great to see you. Glad you could make it. Hello, everyone. You wouldn't believe how hungry I am. You came to the right place, then. There was some laughter, though Liz groaned playfully, shaking her head at Mom's sense of humor. Growing up, she'd have complained, and Mom would have responded by making another comment. Liz had mellowed out over the years, but she still made a show of despairing at Mom's jokes. Her reaction to them had become a joke in its own right. Menus were soon passed around, and a temporary hush fell over the table as everyone read. It didn't last long, punctured by comments about what people had eaten here before, and light chatter about what people were considering tonight. Once the waiter had disappeared with your orders, Cliff piped up. So, I've got some good news. Kyra's making a trip out here tomorrow. Hell yeah! I love Kyra. She's so cute. She's adorable. I love Kyra. Cove nodded, turning from his father to the rest of the table. Yeah, we talked about it and figured this was a good time for everyone. Aww, Mr. Cove with his wavy little eyebrows. That's great. Everyone reacted positively to the news, though Ma looked wistful. If only we'd known. Here we are having a big meal without her. If we'd waited one day, she could have joined us. Mom patted Ma on the back, gently nudging her from the realm of possibilities and what-ifs and back to the evening that was going so well. Chin up. Lee and Liz will still be here tomorrow. We'll just have to throw another get-together and keep the fun train chugging along. Ma smiled warmly, taking Mom's hand in hers. That's true. There's plenty to celebrate right now, but there will be more good news and good times on the horizon. Right. And speaking of, that's not all we've got either. Mr. Holden's eyes were alight as he sat up straight in his chair, face angled towards his son. He barely let a beat go by before nudging Cove with his elbow, pushing him to follow up on the announcement. He was the very picture of a proud papa. Cove shied from the limelight, ducking his head down and staring at his lap as he spoke. Well, it's just, I've switched over to working full-time instead of only part-time. Plus, I've been looking at apartments. There's a few I can choose from. He flicked his gaze up at everyone around the table, a smile creeping over his face. I'll be pretty busy going forward. Apartments. He was moving. Cove was going to move out of his dad's house. After 10 years, he wasn't going to be your neighbor anymore. Okay, that shit kinda hurts though. Why'd you have to point it out like that? Damn. Mr. Holden gripped one of Cove's shoulders and gave it a loving shake. His excitement couldn't be contained. Incredible. Cove's actually going to make it to adulthood. It's a miracle. Oh, poor Cove. Listen, he's not that bad of an adult. He's doing good. He's finding his footing. It's fine. Mr. Holden leaned back in his chair, staring up at the ceiling in mock wonder. I wasn't convinced I'd be able to rear a kid all the way to this point, but thankfully I lucked out and got the best boy a dad could have asked for. Dad. Cove blinkered his vision with his hands on the side of his face, temporarily blocking his father from sight. Despite his genuine bashfulness, which left him unable to meet anyone's eyes after all the attention thrust his way, he was happy. Thanks. I was really lucky too. You're a good dad. Stop, they're so cute. Aw, come here. Mr. Holden threw an arm around Cove's neck, pulling him into as close of a hug as the seating allowed. He rubbed his cheek on the top of his son's head while Cove chuckled, accepting the affection with good humor. You looked around at the faces of the company here. You'd been on this journey with everyone here for years, seeing them falter and grow, and they had watched you go through the same. Now you were striking out on a new path. Cove was leaving his family home. Liz was heading back to college, while Lee was starting at hers. You were all heading in different directions, to different destinations, some near and some far, but it wouldn't be long until you were all going your own way. I'd have to say, I think for me it would definitely be, it was bittersweet. You turned your head to the side, wistful, not wanting to spoil the evening with your troubles. You were glad that everyone was succeeding, but the idea of splitting up gave you a twinge of regret. These people had been key pillars in your life. Days ahead without them, no matter how bright and shiny, felt a little empty, like a theme park after closing time. But you focused your mind on the sweet side. Yeah, like it's sad, we're gonna miss them, but positives. New adventures were still ahead, and you could encourage that optimism. Cove brought some attention to himself with a clearing of his throat and a small interjection. I'm gonna stretch my legs while we're waiting for the food and everything. Sure thing, bud. With a tiny smile, he nodded at his dad, but the lightness to his expression faded when he moved to face you. Wanna come? He was attempting to be subtle, but there was very obviously something on his mind, something he wanted to talk to you about alone. You watched him with concern as you rose from your seat. What's wrong with Cove? What's happening? Yeah, I'll go. Take care. With those parting words, the two of you walked about the place. He was trying to get as far away from everyone else as possible, without actually exiting the building. What did you need to say? He hadn't admitted that was what this was about, but he didn't need to. Also, can we talk about the fact that this is I don't know if this is the color they were going for, but it's like a blue-green, which feels like it's matching Cove. Like, look at that. You can't tell me that. I feel like that had to be intentional, but I could be wrong. Cove started pulling on the hem of his shirt. He turned his head back to face you, but it was an awkward movement. Well, I wanted to talk to you one-on-one about all this. You know, my work, moving. I mean, it was coming before, but now it's pretty much here. Yeah, it's exciting. Cove stopped picking at his shirt, and he seemed to respond well to that response. He was relieved you weren't upset about it. I'm glad you think so. But then he looked down, and his brows furrowed. You saw his hand shift away from his clothes to instead rub at his arm. Why you look so sad? Are you looking forward to it? I am. Well, I'm trying to be. He ducked his head further, and you saw his face start to redden. But it's scary. I don't want things to end. I mean, fucking mood. I don't want things to end either. How dare? Come on, you don't need to worry. It may be scary now, but it'll be worth it. That's not a sure thing. Cove then turned his head away and wrapped his arms around himself. You felt a sudden chill that definitely wasn't caused by the air conditioner. It's happening, you know? What I talked about earlier this summer. The world isn't going to keep us together anymore. It'll all be up to us now. But everything is still gonna be okay, right? We're still gonna be okay? Aww. I'm gonna keep calm. You understood his concern. It was definitely hard to imagine what would happen. However, you didn't let yourself get upset. I'll make sure we always are. That. You were going to keep things up. There was no way you were going to let this fall down the wayside. Cove laughed with a delicate smile on his face. Okay, you win. I wanted to prepare myself for the horrifying unknown, but you're kind of giving me no choice but to be optimistic here. It's so cute. I love them. My little ocean boy. His eyes sparkled with mischief. Strong armor. um, that's right. He chuckled again before he continued his train of thought. Thanks for listening to me, Blake. It helped. Good, I'm glad it helped. He felt pleased that his anxiety had eased after talking it out. Want to go back to the table? I bet everyone's wondering what we've been up to. Oh yeah, I forgot what we were doing here. That'd probably be good. With matching smiles, you both reclaimed your seats at the table. Both of you felt lighter and it showed. You seem happy. What was that? Yeah, it looked like you were having quite the conversation over there. It's neighbor stuff. Sorry. I used to be your neighbor. He waved off their questions, and you didn't offer any explanations. They still seemed curious, but caught that Cove wanted it to stay between the two of you, and let it drop. Things relaxed, and you took a sip of your drink. Lee idly tapped the table and got your attention. I'm so excited to try this place. I'm not sure if I've ever really eaten here. It's more Blake's place than mine. Let's hope it's good. Okay, Liz. All the restaurants in the area are pretty top-notch in my humble opinion. We'll see. It was a challenge issued. Liz carried herself like some sort of professional food critic, and Mom snorted. Tough crowd, geez, Liz. Ma giggled and chimed in as well, much to Liz's embarrassment. That's right, Lizzie, geez. Oh, geez Louise. I'm gonna hop on the geez train real quick. Liz put a hand over her eyes in mock offense. I hardly say geez anymore. Cove smirked and turned to your sister. You leaned forward in your seat. Thank you for the hydration reminder. I appreciate it. Huh, geez. Everyone burst out laughing, besides Liz, of course. She smirked. No one could ever accuse your family of being no fun. Night fell soon after everyone finished their meals, and before you knew it, you were all standing in the parking lot, saying your goodbyes and packing up the cars to go home. After the last of the chores were done, your family spent some more time together. The rest of the night felt like it was going by in a blink of an eye, and somehow the time came to retire to your room to sleep. You pulled your covers up under your chin and settled down for the night, getting warm and cozy. As your head sank into your pillow and you closed your eyes, your mind drifted back to everything that had happened that day. You could see it all now, behind your eyelids, as though you were experiencing it all over again. And then the image of Cove popped into your head, and you smiled softly to yourself. Decided to text him to chat. Give me more Cove. Taking your phone from your bedside table, you lay on your back and held it above your face, typing out a message to Cove. Are you awake? He didn't reply, and you let out a defeated sigh as you locked your phone screen and let your arms fall back down. He must have fallen asleep. Suddenly, your phone buzzed in your hand, and you scrambled to check the message that had just come through. It was Cove! Yeah, what's going on? I'm texting you, that's what. What are you doing? You watched the little dots on your screen as he typed before his next message popped up on your screen. I'm just heading to bed. Good night. Good night. You tapped out your reply before setting your phone down on the bedside table again and plugging in the charger. Cocooning your blankets around yourself, You snuggled into your bed and soon found yourself drifting off into a deep, restful sleep. I always loved Cove too. Cove is adorable. The next morning, you woke up slowly from a comfortable dream, finding yourself safe and warm and tucked up in bed. With a small stretch, you opened your eyes to the sun shining in through the window. After waking up a little more and getting ready, you headed downstairs to find your family all gathered around the kitchen area. Good morning. You greeted them all, receiving a chorus of good mornings back in return. You nodded in acknowledgement as you headed into the kitchen to find some breakfast. I love the charm that he bought us. Little dolphin. A knock at the front door caught your attention, and curiosity pulled you to follow several steps behind Mom as she went to answer it. Cove was waiting there with both of his parents. Kyra, my love! I adore her. Morning. Hi there. Surprised at that sight, Mom paused a moment, and then she pulled Kyra into a big hug, while you approached the doorway and flashed a small smile at Cove. Kyra, it's been too long. I know. Time's been flying. For real, though. Kyra's gaze slid over to you. She waved. Hi there, Blake. Hey, welcome back. Hugged her. We always hug Kyra. I adore her. Immediately, you stepped forward with your arms outstretched. Kyra grinned and hugged you tightly. A small squeak escaped your lips, and then a chuckle. When you stepped back, there was no missing the merriment sparkling in her eyes. It feels good to be missed, but I'm glad to be back and seeing everyone. Enough of standing around out there. Come on in. Mom moved aside to usher the group in and guided them to the living room. Before anyone could get settled in, Mom spoke up. You're all welcome to stay for breakfast. We still have some great spices and stuff from the farmer's market. Yes, we'd be thrilled to host you. I love my moms. There were eager nods from Mr. Holden and Kyra, but Cove looked around the room filled with familiar faces before speaking up. Maybe, instead of staying here, why don't we go to the beach? A scenic picnic, eh? Mr. Holden crossed his arms and contemplated that idea happily. Excited, Kyra clapped her hands together. Oh, we could really make a day out of it. Might as well enjoy the ocean while we can. That sounds lovely, Cove. Ah, they liked his idea. Look at Cove speaking up and stuff. Everyone else put in their own agreement with Cove's suggestion. Before long, both families dispersed, getting everything ready. Sandwiches had to be made. Water, sunscreen, towels, and more needed to be gathered and packed. An hour later, both your family and Cove's were walking down the old path to the beach. The morning was already turning into a bright and beautiful day. You honestly couldn't ask for better weather for a beach trip. The moment you laid your eyes on the full view of the ocean, you stopped and stood there mesmerized. It didn't matter that you grew up there. The sight always filled you with wonder. It's fucking gorgeous. I'm not surprised. Hey, Blake? I was thinking about calling Terry and Miranda. See if they can come too? Everyone else is pretty much already here, so would your family mind? That'd be cool. I'll ask them. You were already so excited at the prospect of seeing your friends today that you immediately darted away in the direction your moms went. Behind you, you could hear the familiar sound of Cove laughing. I have a question. Would it be alright if Terry and Miranda came by? I don't see why not. For real, it's not like moms are gonna tell us no. Ma looked to Mom to see what she thought, and she nodded in agreement. Mom then shot a glance over at Mr. Holden and Kyra, knowing that they had likely heard everything. Cliff, Kyra, what do you two think? The more the merrier. Of course, they're welcome with me. Thanks. Delighted, you nodded and turned on your heels. Cove was still several feet away, talking to Lee and Liz, likely about the same topic. With a beaming smile, you gave him a thumbs up, and the two of them must have also approved, as Cove quickly got out his phone and started making the calls. At that, you turned your attention to helping with the picnic setup. Can I just say I love how fucking cute this is? Like, I love that it's just gonna be a beach day with everybody. Like, stop. Unexpectedly, your phone started vibrating. You dug it out, curious to see the caller ID. Feeling your heart jump with excitement, you answered the video call request. It was Derek. Aw, Derek! Hey, it's been a while. Seriously, but what's up? Oh my goodness, I miss him! He's just a dude. He's just a guy. Little dolphin. Hi, Derek. The voice that came through was much deeper than it had been when you first met, but it still had the exact same amount of enthusiasm of a kid. Have you been enjoying these crazy summer days? Yeah, I have. Awesome. You'll have to catch me up on that. But what about you? How's your summer been? You were beyond curious to know what Derek had been up to since the last time you spoke. He chuckled, noticing your invested tone. Honestly, I've just been slammed with stuff lately. College applications and scholarship inquiries. What else is new? Your only real struggle will be choosing which place to go. They'll all be desperate to have you, for real. Totally. His chuckle turned into a sigh. You could hear his small smile when he spoke. I really hope so, anyway. That would be amazing. What about your family? Are your brothers being good? My little brothers are little punks, but I guess they're doing alright. I missed them. You both laughed at that. Mom and Dad are fine. That's great. My moms are too. Turning your attention back to your surroundings, you smiled warmly at your family buzzing around. Towels were laid out and chairs and umbrellas were being set up. Actually, I'm out with my moms right now. Liz and Lee are here visiting too. Oh, that's fun, but if that's the deal, I'll let you get back to it. Are you sure? I don't mind. Uh-huh, I'm sure. I'm not about to lose your number. I love him. I miss Derek. Okay, bye. Bye, Blake. Have a heck of a day. He's genuinely just it's such golden retriever energy. I adore him for it. Hanging up, the conversation left you energized and in good spirits. It was exactly what you needed to make this day even better. You hurried over to your mom's and helped put the rest of the food out. In moments, you noticed Cove at your side. Hi, Cove. So what did they say? They're gonna come. Cool. Thanks for calling them. No problem. I'm glad I thought of it. They'll meet us here later today. Shouldn't be too long. I can't wait. While on the topic of inviting people to join, you realized there was someone else you could call as well. You had gotten Baxter's number earlier that summer. Absolutely. You messaged him to come down to the beach. Bring me B-Man. I need him. Everyone else was gonna be there. You didn't want him to be left out. You sent him a text and hoped he'd show. After that, you made sure to mention what you'd done. No one seemed to mind. Once the setup was done, everyone got comfortable and dug into the food. You couldn't remember the last time breakfast tasted this good, but you attributed it to the gorgeous ocean view and soothing sea breeze. Give me my B-Man. I want him. Bring him here right now. Morning swiftly gave way to afternoon, and a very recognizable face came walking down to the shore. It was Baxter. He came. He pleasantly approached with a wave. Let's go! I love him! Hello there. I appreciate the invite to the party. I'm never gonna leave you out, dude. Of course you're welcome with us. We know how fond Blake is of you. Damn, Mom, calling me out, be cool. Be chill. We didn't have to go there. Not that we know how fond Blake is of you. Mom, zip it. Damn. Not my mom calling me out like that. Yeah, I love Baxter. Ah, that's so kind. Yeah, you're one of the neighbors. Kick back and relax with us. Thank you. Baxter's gaze moved over to you and Cove. He smiled. Blake, Cove, good to see you. Hi. You waved from where you leisurely sat, and Cove nodded. I'm glad you decided to come. So am I. We meet again. Ah. Yes, lucky for me. A few giggles escaped Lee as she watched Baxter. It was then that Baxter noticed the face he didn't immediately recognize from around the neighborhood. He turned up his charm even more for the introduction. Excuse me, I'm Baxter Ward. I'm sorry we haven't met before. Well, I'm not typically from around this area, just visiting. I'm Cove's mom. Oh, I'll remember that. It's very nice to meet you. Stop, he's so cute. He's so polite, the little manners. After that, Baxter spent some time getting better acquainted with everyone, and Terry and Miranda arrived excitedly. The conversation shifted to what you all would do next. We could do a few rounds of volleyball. There's plenty of us now. Could I play? Of course. Miranda brightened, delighted with this plan. Ma looked around to see if there were any other takers. I don't feel like playing. I'd have to change, but it'd be fun to watch. I could be the ref. My eyes won't miss a thing. Volleyball's a good idea, but there should probably be something happening for those who aren't a fan. Ooh, I have some crafting supplies we could use to make jewelry. We could even use stuff we find around the beach to accentuate them. What? Really? I want to make a necklace. I'd be interested in trying my hand at that too. I could do that. Nice. Impromptu crafting is my kind of party. I'd like to join too, please. Volleyball does sound fun. I think both are a great idea, honestly. Like, this shit's just so cute. My little heart can't handle it. You know what? I'm not really into sports myself, so let's make some jewelry. Let's make some crafts, friends. I don't know. Already, you were imagining various designs you could make depending on what Lee let you use. Your cousin shot you a thumbs up, clearly happy with your decision. Kyra got up from the towel she was sitting on. She brushed some sand off her legs and then stretched her arms over her head. I'm up for a few rounds. Well, since there's still a free spot, I'll throw my hat in the ring. The things I do for family. Yeah, I know, Liz. Too bad it's not golf. Thank you, Liz. I'd love that. Liz got up from where she was sitting, and you could tell by her expression that she was already determined to win. You laughed to yourself, curious how that game would turn out. Now that plans were settled, the group temporarily split into two. Okay, let me pop back to the house to get my supplies. Anything we can do while you're gone? Yes. You can start clearing out the towels for us to work at. And if you want, look around for good stuff to use. Roger that. While Lee ran back to the house, the group did just as she suggested. By the time she returned, everyone had their craft area ready to work at. Lee sat down on one of the towels and looked up at everyone eagerly. She held up two necklace options. I hope you've all been thinking about what you want to make. I have for everyone a choice of either a chain or a threaded rope. How do I pick? All I know is I want to put some sea glass chunks on it. That is a charming idea. His gaze went back and forth between Lee's two necklace-based options. You could tell he was thinking quite hard about it. I can't decide anything for mine. No rush. I'll leave the strands here and you can decorate it however you want later. I suppose I'll use whatever I spot around the beach first. Fate can decide. That feels like a very Baxter answer, honestly. Not letting fate decide. I think that's just how he lives his life, though, to be honest. It's not a bad idea, though. I think I'll keep it classic and only worry about finding a decent shell. Yeah, I'm planning on doing shells too. Um, hmm. Some driftwood could be cool. I do like that Terry is doing the sea glass plan. See, I feel like with something like this, I would probably also, like, I make fun of Baxter, but I'd probably also just see what cool things I pick up. Yeah. I'll just wait and see. I don't have a plan. Because, like, here's my thing with plans in this kind of sense. It's okay to have, like a general idea of what you want to do, but you don't want to become so, like, committed to the plan where if it doesn't work out the way you picture it, then you'll be, like, bummed out or disappointed. So sometimes I think it's better to, like, gather the stuff first and then be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do with it. Make a plan once you have the supplies to plan around. That's my thought. Yeah, I'll just wait and see. I don't have a plan. Baxter nodded, obviously able to relate to that mindset. Baxter and I are really just two peas in a fucking pod, bro. I don't know. Cove crossed his arms and chewed at the inside of his cheek. You weren't the only one that noticed. Cove, what's wrong? Why your face? Why you do that? What's wrong, Cove? I'm not sure what to use. I mean, ideally I'd want a shark tooth, but what are the chances I would even find one? Mom smiled. You both looked at him sympathetically. Sorry, the rare downside of not having a shark-filled coast. That would make for a really nice necklace, though. I know. At Cove's pouting, Mom gave him a little bump on the shoulder with her fist. Well, don't lose all hope. You never know, you might end up really lucky. Cove laughed. It cheered him up even though he wasn't really convinced. After that, the little crafting club busily went to work on their pieces. Whatever they decided on using was attached in loops that were then slid onto their necklace base. Terry was immensely proud of herself when she was done. Hers was simple, but gorgeous because of the striking piece of sea glass she painstakingly searched for and found. Baxter excitedly showed his finished piece off to everyone. He stayed true to his word and used various materials he found along the beach. The necklace looked like it had good weight from the clutter. He always had an eclectic style, it seemed. Cove ended up using driftwood of varying lengths to design his necklace. Despite not finding any shark teeth, he still looked pretty pleased. It's so fucking cute. Stop it. I love them. Mom decided on a medium-sized purple ringed top shell as the centerpiece of hers, and Lee went with a few small Simnia shells. They both put their necklaces on soon after finishing them. After combing the beach several times, you found just what you were looking for. It took a bit, but you managed to make a necklace you were satisfied with. It mostly had sea glass. Your group of crafters would also cheer for the volleyball players whenever shouts could be heard coming out of the court. On top of that, you all would hold up each newly made piece in the air, and the players would take a breather to applaud the creation. Not them supporting each other and cheering each other on despite it being different activities. I love that. You really enjoyed searching the beach, trading supplies, and watching everyone make their necklaces. The crafting club was definitely a success, and you weren't the only one that had a blast. The afternoon continued to drift by, but the fun was still going strong. Occasionally, someone would head back to the houses to use the bathroom, rest away from the sun a while, or to retrieve something that they needed, but they always came back. The beach was never empty, and there was always a new conversation to take part in or another game to join. At one point, Mr. Holden even broke out his pack of cards. He roped the whole group into a few rounds of good old Go Fish. Thank you for the hydration reminder. I appreciate it. This is fucking adorable. I love them. They are so sweet. There was only one thing that could bring this beach day to an end, and that was for the day itself to end. Before anyone realized it, the sun began to set over the sea. As that happened, you were taking a break, sitting on a towel with your legs stretched out past it and your feet buried in the warm sand. Shortly, you looked up to see your moms approaching. They stopped in front of you and you smiled. Hey there, kiddo. How are you doing? I'm doing really good. How about you? We're wonderful. They both sat down, squishing you between them. Ma leaned her head against yours, and Mom started rubbing your back soothingly. I love my moms. They're so fucking cute. I love them. I can't. Nothing more was said at first, but Ma sighed contentedly. Mom looked at you wistfully. We're both really proud of you, Blake. You grew up to be more than we ever could have hoped. Stop it. I love them. Thank you. You were touched by their words, and your voice came out in a whisper. Mom chuckled and lightly brushed a bit of your hair. That's not something you need to thank us for. But still, I wouldn't be here without either of you. Ma wrapped an arm around your middle and squeezed you tightly in a side hug. Glancing at Mom, you saw how teary-eyed she became. She sniffled. I love them. Don't be crying about it, though, please. I'm not gonna be able to handle it if we open the fucking waterworks, for real. You stayed there quietly and contentedly, watching the sunset with your parents for a while. Until Mr. Holden called out to you. He was still walking in your direction. We were talking and think we're gonna take a walk down the shore. Any of you wanna come? Automatically, you looked to your moms for what they were thinking. Mom glanced from you to Ma and smiled. That sounds good to me. Yes, that'd be very nice. My legs need some stretching. Let's go. Thrilled, Mr. Holden threw out a thumbs up and began heading back the way he came in a light jog. Hey, don't leave us in the dust. Cliff kept going forward, but flipped around, walking backwards across the sand so he could face you again. Don't worry, we wouldn't leave without you. All right, we'll catch up. Ready to go? Uh-huh. Both of your moms held a hand out to you. Chuckling, you gave them each one, and you all strolled back to the rest of the group. When Liz was in reach, Ma used her free hand to pull Liz into her too. Liz shook her head, but her mouth quirked into a smirk and she didn't resist. Together as a family, you followed behind the others hand in hand. Your feet squished into the wet sand as the waves rolled over them, and you didn't have a care in the world as more and more stars began to dot the sky. Once the sun had long been out of sight, it was finally time to pack up. The closing of the day and the ever-approaching end of summer seemed to intertwine. It caused a quiet, reflective mood to blanket over the group. On the beach, Terry and Miranda took turns compressing Cove in a hug before moving on to do the same to you. You chuckled, still overjoyed that you got to see them today. I'm sorry we have to go already. My parents are here. That's okay. But still, I wish we could help clear this all up. Don't worry about it. Just, thanks for coming out today. It was cool having everyone here. The sky and the moon, oh my goodness. So pretty, I love this game. The art alone needs to be appreciated. Like, I can't. Oh yeah, I'm super glad we came. Hopefully we can do it again sometime. Nodding, you turned your attention to Terry. She wore a large grin on her face and held a hand out for a low five. You obliged. Take care of yourselves, buddies. After that, they walked away, waving to you and Cove as they went down the shore. Cove waved quietly back with a small smile on his face. Have a safe trip back. Yes, that. We will. Bye. Taking you by surprise, Terry jumped and twisted around. She kept up with Miranda by walking backwards. She kept the mood of your farewell light by shooting finger guns at you and Cove. Miranda bumped her with a hip. It left everyone with a laugh just before they disappeared down the bend. I am glad we got to get everyone together like this. Like, I think this is such a cute fucking ending. Like, my whole heart, bro. Like, I know it's not the end, but still. Blake? Hey, Cove, could you come here? Both of your parents were motioning for you. The two of you went to them. Tons of things ended up at the beach over the course of the day, so there was still so much to pack up, and the parents needed help. With a nod, you got to it, stuffing various things into bags and bundling them up in towels. Once things were ready to go, everyone filled their arms with as much as they could carry. Absolutely no one wanted this to be a back and forth kind of task. The walk back home ended up being mostly quiet. Each person seemed to be feeling the effects of the day. A cool breeze carried you across the sand and onto the road. There was a sigh of relief from what felt like the group as a whole when they arrived back to the neighborhood. Baxter carefully placed what he had been carrying on the ground. "Thank you so much for helping with that." "No, thank you for allowing me to join today. You all shared with me. Helping to carry it back is the least I can do." "I love him." Ma nodded and the others started collecting their things from his pile. Baxter, meanwhile, stepped over to you and Cove. "It was a pleasure." His head tilted towards you, and he smiled warmly. "Will I see you again? Tomorrow is my last day." Damn. Yeah. Summer ending means Baxter's gotta get going too. Oof. That shit kinda hurted me though. Yeah, definitely. I'll visit you. Thank you, Blake, and I don't expect you to do the same, Cove. Oh, alright. I won't. Baxter turned to shake Cove's hand this time. He was a little incredulous for a moment, but then Cove eventually shifted what he was carrying and took Baxter's hand. It wasn't long, but it was a solid handshake. Baxter was clearly pleased. "I wish we had more time together, but it was still a nice ride while it lasted. Would happily do it all over again." "Bye." "See you soon, Baxter." Baxter nodded and walked a few steps towards his condo. He then stopped and waved. "Goodbye." Baxter sauntered away completely and disappeared inside the condo to return to his own things, his time with you and your family and friends ending. You paused for a moment, staring at where he went. But afterwards, you looked back over at the rest of the group. Lee and Liz were just going inside your house. You couldn't spot Kyra or Mr. Holden anywhere, but the door to their house was wide open. Mom approached you with an amused look on her face. "Seems like you're holding up some Holden things." I love Mom. I fucking can't. Surprised, you glanced down to take a quick inventory of what you were holding. Mom was right. Some of it belonged to the neighbors. "Would you mind dropping it off now?" "Can do. It's not a problem." "Thank you very much." Cove took a few steps towards his house and stopped, waiting for you. "Good night, Cove. I'll see you inside, Blake." "Night." You caught up to Cove, and together you went over to his house. Walking in the front door, you saw Kyra and Mr. Holden busily unpacking already. Things were scattered on counters, and they were both moving around each other, putting the items away. They both lifted their heads when Cove closed the front door. "Hey." "It's nice seeing you again already, Blake." I love his parents and my parents, and everybody just has very sweet and wholesome parents in this game. Her Her teasing tone brought a light smile to your face. You hefted the stuff in your arms a little closer. I ended up with things of yours from the beach. Oh, thanks for getting that to us. You can put it, here on that coffee table. Mr. Holden pointed at the surface he was referring to, and you immediately left what didn't belong to your family there. Cove put his own things down on the floor just at his feet, wading through everything strewn about to reach his parents. Putting your family's stuff on the ground for a moment, you dusted your hands off and straightened up. You needed a second of rest and a minute to resituate it all. You went over to where the others were too. Kyra opened her arms wide, wanting to hug you. Absolutely, you accepted. Give me a Kyra hug right now. Happily, you went to her. She held on tightly. Over the years, you were able to form a good rapport with her, and you were grateful for that. You could feel in her hug how much Kyra had grown to care about you. It brought an affectionate smile to your face. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It was a blast. It's no problem. I had fun too. Kyra eventually released you, but patted the tops of your shoulders as a final gesture. Every time I've gotten to come by, it's been an absolute joy. Things really couldn't have worked out better. Mr. Holden took a step closer to you. Kyra moved aside to let him say goodbye too. He grinned. Ah, the man that started it all, though. Thanks for always being such a friendly neighbor. And not just right now, but for as long as I've known you. I didn't always make it easy, but you and your family are good people. I really, truly appreciate it. Thanks again, Blake. So much. At that, Mr. Holden reached over and gave you a soft pat on the top of your head. I'm really glad that you're my neighbor. Mr. Holden's brows furrowed with emotion. Your words really did touch him. Me too. Mr. Holden was staring at you, but his gaze seemed far away. Maybe he was looking back at who you used to be, the 8-year-old he had asked to be his son's new friend. Bye, Blake. You smiled softly. Then Cove took a step forward. He gestured to his pile of things he had carried into the house. Don't worry about all that. I'll put stuff away in a few minutes. Right. I need to go do the same with my family. I figured. Cove walked you to the door and held it open. Taking one last check around to make sure you had all your things to bring home, you went into the road. He leaned his body against the doorframe, not following you out. So, this is it, huh? Actually, that's not what I mean. His expression twisted and he shook his head a bit, like he was trying to banish the pensive thoughts. I'll just say bye. Bye. I'll see you soon. Your mouth pulled into a soft smile, and you weren't sure who you were trying to reassure more. Cove reached forward and patted your arm reassuringly, and then he kept his hand there, lightly holding onto your arm. He nodded. One of his hands grabbed onto the door handle and firmly held it. He was stopping himself from coming along with you. As you walked over to your own front door, you stopped. Turning around, you spotted Cove right where you left him. You laughed quietly to yourself. For a small pause, you both stared at each other from across the street. Good night. Night. You shouted across the way to one another. He moved one of his arms in a big wave so you couldn't miss it. Things couldn't be dragged out any longer. After one more shared smile, you opened the door and went inside, shutting it behind you. A few steps in, you saw your family gathered in the living room. They were still busy unpacking and cleaning. You added the things you brought to the pile on the kitchen counter. Mom stood up, rubbing her eyes a bit. She yawned loudly. I'm bushed. How about we finish the rest of the chores tomorrow? Yes, honestly. It's too late for this. Please and thank you. Ma put her hands on her hips and turned to assess the room. Ma was not one who liked to leave a mess about, but she sighed. I suppose we can make an exception to the usual rule. It has been a really long day. Liz grinned contentedly. Lee wasted no time in skipping over to you and hooked you into a side hug. Good night. Hug her back. You pulled her close and into a bear hug. Lee giggled until you released her. I hope you sleep well too. Oh, I totally will. The moment my head hits the pillow, I'll be out. Here's to us, Blake. Tonight, tomorrow, and forever. You smirked at that. Yeah, here's to us. Lee stretched her arms high over her head. She yawned loudly and looked at you with tired eyes. I think that's my cue to head to bed. Bye. I think so too. Have fun sharing the room with Liz. She laughed at that, and Lee shuffled off towards the guest bedroom. I love this so much. It's so fucking cute. Also, thank you so much for the hydrate. I'm gonna do that now. Before you had a chance to do anything else, you could feel the top of your head being tapped. You spun around to see Liz smirking. Nighty-night, I'm heading to bed too. It's been a long day, and I have a lot to prepare for tomorrow. Exhaling, you automatically started fixing the back of your hair. When Liz didn't immediately walk away, you smiled softly at her. Everything okay? Her gaze moved away, and you knew she had more to say. You waited patiently for Liz to compose her thoughts. It's been a good summer. It was nice to come back home. You nodded, and Liz gave you a teasing nudge as she went by. Amused, you turned and watched her go. Love you, little kiddo. You gave her a hug goodnight. You wrapped your arms around her back to hug her from behind. She laughed and patted your hands. Eventually, you let Liz go from your grasp. When Liz was out of sight, Mom started up the next conversation over her shoulder. Aren't you heading up to bed too? I want to relax first. I want a minute. Desperately, you needed some time to decompress and clear your mind. You worried if you went off to bed now that you would end up staring at the ceiling all night. That's fair. Okay. Ma came over too, smiling understandingly. She pulled you into a big hug. We're gonna take a quick bathroom break with the mom hug. I'll be right back. Okay, we are back. We got our mom hug. Beautiful. Let's keep going. All right, you do what you need to. I love you. When you were done hugging Ma, Mom pulled you into another hug. Their actions, basically handing you off to each other, had you laughing jovially. I love you so much. I love you too. You gotta say it back. Aww. They both couldn't resist taking turns hugging you again. Your smile widened. It felt good to be so loved. Good night, kiddo. Sleep tight. Good night, sweetie. Night. After that, your moms headed off towards their bedroom down the hall. You were about to turn the other direction when you heard Mom's voice. And don't let the bed bugs bite. You heard Ma chuckling as you watched them go off with a smile. Time had passed, but you weren't entirely sure how much. Sighing, you sat up on the couch. It was a good rest, and all of your tired muscles felt quite relaxed. You got up, planning on going to bed, when something out of the window caught your eye. Your feet brought you right in front of the large windows spanning the length of the back wall. You stared out into the hills behind your house. As if on cue, your phone came on, alerting you of a new notification. It was Cove. Want to hang out on the hill tonight? Something inside told you that this was the right kind of night to take a trip out there. You sent him back a very quick message. Yeah. Aw, the little smiley face. Stop. You went over to the front door and stepping over the threshold, you gave the living room one last glance over your shoulder. Then you shut the door behind you. Silently, you made your way to the Poppy Hill. With light steps in the dark, you walked across the hills behind your house. Up ahead at the very top, silhouetted beneath the night sky, was a familiar figure already waiting there. Smiling, you wondered just how he always got there first. You even had the advantage of living closer. Then again, and maybe it was only in your mind, but somehow, Cove was intrinsically linked with this place. After all these years, it would be weird to scan this horizon and not find him there, as surreal as the shore without the sea. The distance between you was growing shorter by the second. Hearing the grass and earth crunch under your feet, Cove turned. A grin spread over his face as he saw you. You took your place standing behind him on the crest of the Poppy Hill, looking out over the ocean. Same as you'd done on countless times since he first arrived, when you'd found him on this very same spot. Blake. He had officially broken the silence, the spell that had held you both in place. You looked at him expectantly. There's something I've always kind of wondered about. He cocked his head, giving you a sidelong glance. What did you think about when we met? I was just a kid you'd never seen before, bawling his eyes out, on the hill next to your house. He chuckled, his eyes drifting towards the sea beyond, before flicking back to you. The way his gaze pulled back to you made it clear he was genuinely invested in the topic. Luckily for him, you remembered what initially struck you in that moment. It was as if it only happened yesterday. Well, I remember noticing your very bright green hair. Cove burst into genuine laughter at your reply. I guess that's fair. It did kind of stand out. Sighing a bit, you continued to reminisce about that first meeting. I also remember feeling bad about what was happening. I remember that too. He ran a hand through his hair, and you knew his line of questioning wasn't at an end, even before he spoke again. Do you remember what you thought about me, as a person? Was I annoying or mean or... Um, I'm gonna go with I wanted to be your friend. Because honestly, though, him needed a friend. Cove's eyes widened, openly amazed by your response. Really? I don't know what I did to deserve that. It's nice of you. Cove's hand drifted to the scar on his arm, his fingers unconsciously gliding over the mark. It was much less noticeable than it had been when the neon pink cast had first come off, shrunking gradually over the years as his body healed, then dwarfed in comparison to his growing body. Absolutely, that's what starts the whole game off, is meeting Mr. Cove here as just a sad little boy on the Poppy Hill. Hell, I think that happens before step 1 even officially occurs. That's the very, beginning bit of the game. Still, his fingers came back to it without thinking. He gave a half smile, not meeting your eyes. I feel bad now. The thoughts I had were, well, considering what you were thinking, I come across as a lot worse of a kid. You didn't like me? Excuse. Cove, how fucking dare. The audacity of this adorable bitch, though. No, it definitely wasn't that. Cove lifted his head up, finally committing to meet your eyes fully once more. I remember you that day. I remember it really well. I don't think I'd ever be able to forget. I can picture the way you looked back then when I first saw you standing right here. I still know the expression on your face when you chose to sit with me in the grass. He chuckled derisively, interrupting his own monologue. You scared me at first. I figured I'd be alone out there until I had to face my dad again, and then suddenly another kid appeared out of nowhere. It was startling, but I got over that fast. You were a strange person in a strange place, but in that moment, you were exactly what I needed. Somebody I could talk to freely about what was happening and how it made me feel. And you listened to me. You stayed with me. He sighed, then bit his lip as he gave a small smile. I was a little bit spoiled growing up. A little? Your teasing rolled easily over Cove, who laughed in reply. He looked off again, seeking clarity for his thoughts in the expanse of the night sky. What I'm trying to say is, when I was younger, I viewed myself basically as the center of the universe. I didn't even imagine it wasn't like that. Things didn't simply happen. That would be weird, according to my little kid brain. It made far more sense that everything in my life had a specific connection to me somehow, right? Yes, I can see where Child Cove was coming from. When you're a kid, you really don't have, the perspective of anything outside of what you know. So I imagine it's not uncommon for kids to feel that way, at least in certain situations. Hell, I would argue that a big part of growing up is learning that there is more outside of you and your bubble. He thought affirmation in you, wavy brows raised as he tried to explain his childlike logic. So at the time, you felt almost unreal. Like you weren't just anyone, some other kid who happened to live in that neighborhood with your own whole life that wasn't connected to Cove Holden. No, to me, you were there so that you could find me when I was lost. I kind of expected it all to vanish like a dream when that night was over. I would wake up and everything would be the same again. I'd be back in my bed at home, my real home, with both my parents. The future was something I couldn't picture anymore. I didn't know what school would be like when I went back, or the table where I'd eat breakfast the next morning, or anything. And if I couldn't imagine it, how could I think it was something actually happening? I couldn't grasp my new reality. It was too big for me to hold all at once. So I never thought I'd see you again. Then Cove beamed at you, his eyes shining bright. And I never ever would have been able to guess that 10 years later, when I was a grown up, the two of us would still be together. I didn't see things ending up like this either. I don't think anyone did. But the smile faded from his face as his eyebrows drew together. That was the worst day of my life at the time, the day my family broke apart. It was too heavy for me to even think about. I felt that way for I don't know how long. He held a hand over his heart, connecting with the pain he'd felt as a child, and looking at you earnestly. But now, everything is better, with me and my dad and my mom and between the two of us. So, when I remember that time, it's not the point that my life was over. It's just the day I met you. Okay, that's really fucking cute. Stop it. That was adorable. My whole fucking heart. Thank you for all of this. No, thank you. Cove sighed contently. His voice was as delicate as the petals on the poppies which crowned this hill. Hey, Blake, I'm so grateful you were there, even when I wanted to run away. You didn't even know what to say back to that. His heartfelt appreciation left you speechless. He tilted his head up, thoughts lost in the sparse clouds above. I wonder how late it is. I guess it doesn't really matter. My dad is fine with me being out whenever. You could just use your phone to check the time. What a concept. Sure, I could, but I'm probably not gonna. Are you going to lay in the grass now? Wow, how'd you know? Lucky guess, Cove. With a chuckle, Cove plopped down onto the ground and laid on his back, his usual way of spending time there. Lay down in the grass with Cove on the hill. We have to. You also laid on your back. You took your own spot next to him in the grass, brushing the blades of grass aside a bit with your hand. Both of you fully settled in to relax on the hill. It felt like just the beginning of one of your nightly outings, but then you realized the sun was peeking out over the horizon. I am sorry, what? The sun already came up? Geez, apparently it was late. Cove spoke up with a disbelieving tone. It really was late. Your neighbor wasn't a stranger to being awake at dawn, however not like this. He was normally an early sleeper, early riser. This unexpected sunrise particularly awed him. The two of you watched on silently as the sun began to light the world. Cove then propped himself up on the backs of his arms and looked at you with a soft expression on his face. Do you want to go back home? I could carry you if you're too tired. I'd rather stay a little longer. Stop, not him offering to carry us home. You couldn't resist a yawn, but you were serious. It couldn't be time to go already. Cove chuckled affectionately. Okay, but it's been a long day. We've done a lot of things. Like, really a lot. It has to end sometime. I know, you're right. Yeah, too bad I am on that one, huh? But we can stay if you want to. Cove smiled brightly at you, as warm as the new rays of sun that were tickling your skin. In that moment, you couldn't have appreciated him being there more. You leaned into Cove. You bent yourself against Cove for extra support. He tilted his head against yours. You're my favorite neighbor. I'm sorry that happened. Welcome back. You're my favorite neighbor. I love him. You're mine too. The two of you remained together on that familiar poppy hill where you first met until the world began to fade and blur. You were falling asleep. Thank you for the hydrate reminder. I appreciate it. A few more gentle words drifted into your consciousness. I'll see you tomorrow. Your eyelids dipped, but you felt good. You were safe and relaxed. Everything that had come before this had reassured you of that. You were confident that when you opened them again, things would be okay. You opened your eyes. Instead of the walls of your room, you were surrounded by open sky. It was not soft pillows and sheets underneath you, but the bed of earth and grass that you'd taken last night. The day welcomed you with a shining sun, a refreshing breeze, and the chirping song of birds. You cupped your face with your hands as you sat up, feeling the imprint of the blades of grass leaving lines into your cheeks. Blake. Hearing your name, You lowered your hands and looked around. There he was, your most influential neighbor, Cove Holden. Ah. He had made himself very comfortable, laying on his stomach with jewelry and shoes taken off and a flower in his hand. Good morning. Good morning to you too. Cove laughed, tickled with the overall situation and simply being able to spend time like this. Told you I'd see you tomorrow. It's the exact same day, Cove. We were up until dawn. It doesn't make it a new day now just 'cause we went to sleep later than normal. See, I argue both sides of that. I'm also a weird person where I'm like a new day doesn't technically start in my head until I go to sleep. However, like all-nighters and stuff are a thing. Time is very complicated. Then we disagree, 'cause to me, it's not really the next day until I've been to bed and woken up. But fine, I'll just have to make sure I see you tomorrow again. Probably the day after that, too. That way there's no argument. Cove turned his head up to the sky, his expression content. Looks like it's gonna be a nice day. We'll have to come up with something to do to make the most of it. He trailed off, blinking slowly in the sunlight. Someday, when we're even older than we are now, I wonder what we'll end up remembering this moment for. What will we feel when we look back at it all? When we look back at it, will it be the same as what we're feeling right now? I can't see what the future is gonna look like again, but I think that's alright. I'm gonna go with I don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out. Cove turned back to you, nodding in full agreement. He eyed the hill sprawling out before you, and down below, where the wild hill and nature gave way to civilization. Your home and Cove's lay down at the bottom, neatly filed among the other houses in the neighborhood. Cove said nothing, but fixed you with a deliberate and meaningful look. As much as I like it here, it's okay if we leave now. We can always come back to see the poppies and the fireflies again, right? Cove met your eyes, waiting for what you were going to say in response. Right, I'd like that. Your comment quirked a weary smile from Cove. His voice was littered with mirth. You're really irreplaceable, huh? Cove beamed at you. His expression was so unlike the one he'd wore when you first found him here, swaddled in sadness and uncertainty. Yet you couldn't help but glimpse that boy once more underneath his bright expression and matured features. Come on. He offered you a hand. You accepted it, your palm fitting around his. Cove lifted himself up, pulling you along too. Our parents probably aren't gonna come running for us this time. We've got to make our own call. And I say that we can't hide away forever. Poppy Hill is just one part of things. There's more out there for us than this time and this place alone. Let's enjoy it. You couldn't say whether you were the one that broke into a run, if Cove had been the one to start it, or if your feet had simultaneously made that choice for you both. The end result was the same, with the two of you dashing down the hill like children, but with the nostalgic revelry that could only come as an adult. As the wind whipped past you, you knew that family and friends were waiting at the end of your sprint. There were more memories to make after all. Life takes another step forward. Ah, I love this song. We have to wait for the credits. This is too cute. Thank you for the hydrate. I appreciate it. I was actually just refilling my water while we let the song go. I adore this. This game is just so precious. And I feel like I don't know. I just felt like with this game specifically, I owed them the credits and stuff because, like, I love them. I'm grateful that this game fucking exists, bro. I also think it's really cool they put in all of these like supporters and stuff from when the game was coming out. Just all the little details, bro. Thank you for playing. Oh, it gets me every fucking time. Oh no. I don't wanna. Yeah, I will send you a screenshot. I have to double check what the name is. But it is available on different platforms to listen to. Oh boy. I know where we are and I don't want it. I'm about to rip my own heart out real fast. The clatter of a suitcase hitting tile brought you back into reality. You'd been zoned out in thought for some amount of time. How long was impossible to guess. But you were in Baxter's room. It was almost exactly 24 hours since the last time you'd been together during the big goodbye get-together the previous day. The scene in front of you then was familiar, in a way. You were standing in the corner and watching as he packed. But there was none of the franticness or excitement of a fast-approaching trip to the mountains. In this moment, every motion Baxter made was slow and laborious. This was the end of his time in Sunset Bird. When the job was done, it would be finished. When you'd first arrived at his place, Baxter and you reminisced over a summer well spent, one over all too soon. The task of putting his things into bags was drawn out enough for all possible conversation to have been spent and a quiet to creep in. That's how you'd gotten sucked into your own head, a private reflection on the person in front of you. Baxter Ward had been the harbinger of change in the tiny town, an inescapable sign that the life you'd known was nearly your entire childhood was also coming to an end. But he had become your normal over the summer, and now he was going to change it all again by going away. A part of you wanted to jump out of reality again. In your mind, Baxter was ever present, but in this room, Baxter had just finished the last task before he left for good. You stared at the neatly gathered bags around Baxter's fancy black shoes. When did that happen? Your gaze drifted to his face, unsure. Baxter was watching you, too, and smiling sweetly. Thank you for visiting me once more, Blake. I am fully settled now, and it is getting late. I believe the time has come for you to return home. More accurately, but harder for Baxter to admit, it was time for him to return home. But he simply tapped a suitcase with his foot and kicked the real farewell down the road. Would you mind if I saw you out? You moved to join Baxter at the front of the room. I'd like that. Very good. The bags were left as they were for the time being as Baxter escorted you to the front door and onto the street. You both stood there in the very place where you first reunited. Baxter put his most agreeable smile to work. It was there, though called in on what should have been a day off. I suppose this is the most fitting place to say goodbye. It is unlikely we'll see one another again before I am gone. That was it. No getting around things. This was goodbye. Hesitantly, he held up his arms for a farewell embrace. You gave him a comfortable hug. You walked up to Baxter, tucking your hands around his back. His arms crossed over each other behind you, and both of his hands came to rest on your shoulders. Baxter had tied himself to you with a bow. You enjoyed every second of it. Then, when you finally untangled yourself, you put just enough distance between you so you could see each other's faces. Baxter spoke again with a new tenderness to his tone. It was so wonderful meeting you. This has been the best summer, best any particular season I've had in years. I'll never forget a minute of it. And I sincerely hope you will find someone who will make you happy and fulfilled. You're suited only for the best. Goodbye, Blake. Thanks. I hope you find happiness too. You wished it could have lasted longer, but you couldn't force him to give you more time. This cutting of ties didn't come as a surprise to you. Baxter had always spoke about the vacation as a finite, separate thing from the rest of his life. None of it was going to be carried on beyond the bounds of the now leaving sign. Baxter wasn't like Miranda's brother Jude and his boyfriend. He wanted to move on. That made your heart wrench hopelessly. Ah, Baxter? If there's ever a chance for us to see each other again somehow at some point in the future, would you be okay if we met up? He turned his back to you, beginning the process of separation promptly. Baxter only spoke over his shoulder. I could say yes to that and have it be true on a technicality. Under normal circumstances, technicalities are my friends, yet it would be in poor taste here. A chance of that nature won't come. After all, I don't intend to mislead you in the final hour. Instead, all I can earnestly promise is that I will miss you, and I won't trouble you further. He was serious. This was the end of the line for his association with you. You looked into Baxter's obscured face for the last time and were smiling at him. I'll remember you too. Baxter didn't say anything else. He didn't react. He only stepped forward and closed the door to his rented condo. He was gone. Ever a man of his word, you didn't see Baxter Ward again. There we fucking go. So, this is how it's going to work. So the way the game technically is here you can choose which epilogue to play. Note you can only play one and then the game will end. Enjoy. However, I am a stubborn individual, and what I am going to do is I'm going to save right here, and that is my workaround for us to be able to experience all three endings with all three guys at our leisure. We will be able to see all three of these lovely, lovely little gentlemen again, starting up tomorrow with Mr. Cove Holden. So, just a reminder if you were unaware, I am doing special Saturday streams for the entire month of September. This first one will be Cove, the second one will be Derek, the third one will be Baxter, and the final Saturday stream will be a big Cove Holden wedding and saying goodbye to the game. That will be the true end for us. I am super, super, super looking forward to showing you all. I genuinely thank you for any point you've joined me on this journey of streaming this game. I've had so much fun with it. I know it's not the end, but the end is coming up, and that's wild to me considering I started playing this game on stream back in June. But yeah, even with the fact that I'm streaming it, I strongly urge everybody to look out and check out this game for themselves. Even with the decisions I've made, you can make different decisions. You can, like, I'm going to be romancing all three of them when I play. You can go the platonic route if you'd like. That changes up some stuff. Like, there's just so many possibilities. The replayability of this game is phenomenal. The art in this game is phenomenal. The writing, all of it, it's just so good. I've enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate you. On that note, I am going to go wrap up and have some downtime before yeah, tomorrow, like I said, I can't remember if I said the time specifically, but these Saturday streams, as scheduled on my page, on my profile, whatever you want to call my Twitch thing, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am not sure how long they will run for. I do believe it will go over our usual 2 hours, but I am committed to showing y'all all of this fucking game. I do not care. Um, but yeah, on that note, I thank you again so much for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your night. And as always, take care of yourselves, be kind to yourselves. It's hard being a person, you're doing the best you can. I am proud of you. And don't forget to live a life that pisses off a bigot. Bye, y'all.